Fabulous. So thank you, first of all, for all being here again. I've been looking forward to doing this all week. I really enjoyed the last session we did. And obviously and thank you for those who have been brave and done the videos. It's not always the easiest thing to do with those videos, but one of the common things that came through was a bit more confidence, feeling a bit more confident. And what better way than putting yourself out there and being seen than to help build that confidence and just realize you can do it. So that's part of the reason on those, and also to get us thinking about the theme on that week. And this week's theme is we're going to be looking at anxiety. And when you ask people about anxiety, there tends to be only really two types of people that you'll ever meet who do not experience it. The first category of people are dead people. Dead people, for some unknown reason, do not experience anxiety. They don't seem to respond to it in the same way that we do. The second group of people that tend not to respond to anxiety or demonstrate anxiety in any form or experience it in any form are psychopaths. Now, I mean, if either of those groups of people appeal to you, if that's something you're heading for, then having no anxiety is a great thing. Keep going, get rid of that anxiety. You know, if you want to be dead or a psychopath, go for it. You see, there's a good reason for why we all, and yes, we do actually all experience anxiety. And the reason being is it's a natural part of being human. It's a natural part of who we are. It's part of our makeup. Anxiety is what means we give a damn. It directs our attention to things that are important. So imagine you're on a first date. You've kind of maybe chatted a bit to this person. You really like that person. Now, a little anxiety means that you're going to take care of your appearance. You're going to make an effort. You're going to put some nice clothes on for that meal or whatever you're doing. You're going to get your hair nice. You're going to clean your teeth. You're going to splash on aftershave or perfume, depending on whoever you are or what your preference is. And you're going to go out, hopefully looking your best, because that little bit of anxiety has let you know that this could be an important moment. This is something to pay a bit of attention to and to give a little bit of thought about. And that's important. Yeah, on the other side of things, if you did not have that little bit of anxiety, if it wasn't there, you may just turn up in your dressing gown. You know, a nice meal out at the Italian restaurant. Oh, do you know what? I just thought, wear my dressing gown. You know, yeah, I wasn't worried about it. Didn't really cross my mind that I might need to dress up. You may just turn up. You may not have bothered washing that month because, hey, you don't get anxious about stuff. You don't worry about stuff. Nothing's flagged up to be important. You might not have ate that month, in fact, because if you're not really anxious, if you're not experiencing a certain amount of anxiety, you're not going to really be that worried that you haven't ate or that you're getting hungry. And at the end of the day, on this date where you may or may not turn up wearing your dressing gown unwashed for a month, you might not actually bother turning up anyway because it's not important to you. You're not anxious about it. There is no level of anxiety telling you, pay some attention to this. What's going to make this good? So it would mean that the things we aim for, the things we desire, the things we focus on would just disappear. If there isn't a little bit of anxiety there, those things don't matter. Your attention, your awareness is not drawn to those things because your mind is not alerting you to the fact they might be important. It's like, well, you know, when you have anxiety, a little bit is fine. You know, it helps us focus on the important things. It flag posts things that maybe need our attention. It can, however, become all-consuming and affect our lives to the point where we don't go out of doors. And obviously anxiety takes many forms. There's social anxiety, there's fears, there's phobias, and it's always about stuff. It can be fed from the past because our anxiety is our mind reacting to the things we've learned in the past and relating them to things that may happen in the future. Most of the time, these things tend not to. But our mind perceives it may be a thing that happened and puts attention to it. So when it gets to that point where it's all consuming and it starts affecting our lives, that's when we choose normally to go to the doctors. Why? Because obviously that's where we go when we're I hate using this word, ill. And the doctor has 10 minutes tops to decide exactly what's wrong with you, what's causing that anxiety, where it comes from, what you're worrying about, and the best way forward, and to prescribe a solution. And that's not long enough. It's not long enough. Doctors do amazing jobs, but they are not mental health professionals. If they want to be, it's an extra 5 years training on top of the training they already do. So we go and see the doctor. The doctor have his 10 minutes, and what do? They do the default. They'll tell you to do some exercise, tell you to do some breathing, and they'll tell you to usually take some tablets, unless you're really strong on that. You say, I really don't want to do that. And that, for me, tablets are for when you are ill. Tablets are for when, you know, as you may know, I was spent last weekend at the hospital because V had stomach knotted up, IBS, and was all not, cramped up, and so they gave her tablets that then relax the muscles. That's fine, but anxiety is not an illness. It's an emotion. It's a natural reaction. It doesn't need tablets. It doesn't need that attention. So you get the pills, and the thing with the pills is quite often there are side effects, and the slightly tongue-in-cheek side effect usually on those, and it's the same on antidepressants, is this tablet, or however they word it, may cause anxiety. So your anxiety tablets may cause you anxiety. Your depression tablets may cause you depression. And then there's that chance that you take the tablet and it numbs out. It numbs out your feeling, it numbs down, chills you out, and you kind of like that, and then you associate that feeling with having the tablets, and you think, I want to feel like this all the time, and so you start taking the tablets, and then you get anxious about not taking the tablets, and then you become dependent. So medication for me, and this is just me sharing how I see it, how I feel about it, but medication for me is not the way forward when it comes to anxiety. The other thing when you go to the doctors, you get a badge, don't you? You get the I have a disorder badge, or I have an illness badge, and you start owning it like it's something, or it's there, and it is there, but it's not an illness. It's not a disorder. It is, you are not, when the doctor gives you those tablets and says, oh yes, you have anxiety, broken. You're not broken. There's part of your mind's functioning, part of yourself that needs some attention, but you're not broken. There's nothing to fix, but there's some stuff to listen to. But you've got the diagnosis, you've got the tablets, and now you can be anxious about being anxious. And you speak to a lot of the people I speak to get more anxious about the thought they might have an attack of anxiety than they do the actual anxiety. Or they'll get worried that they'll get anxious, that they're going to get anxious when they go out. And that anxiety just ramps it up, and where your attention goes, your energy flows. So you're telling your mind, I'm going to get anxious when I go out. I'm really going to get anxious when I go out. I'm getting anxious about the fact I'm really going to get anxious when I get out. I mean, that's a suggestion. You're in an emotive state because anxiety is an emotion, and you're suggesting to yourself you're going to get even more anxious, and it ramps it up and it ramps it up. So to me, that approach for anxiety of doctors, of tablets, of labeling it as an illness, a disorder, is wrong. Because it's not an illness. It's an emotion. It's part of being human. It has function and it has purpose. To not have anxiety as part of your emotional makeup would be the disorder. Anxiety's job is to pop up and go, hey, looking ahead, just be aware of this. It's part of your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind's job is to do two things: to keep you safe I want to help you find happiness and to feel good. That's all the unconscious mind has to do. Sometimes it does it brilliantly, and other times it could learn a different way. It can learn to do things differently. But anxiety pops up saying, hey, keep an eye on this a little bit. It's like when, imagine you're out and about somewhere. Yeah, there's a busy road to cross, the traffic's busy, and you're with a friend and you cross over, you're about to cross the road and a friend goes, oh, hey, watch out, the road's a bit busy. That's anxiety. It's that friend going, hey, watch out, you might want to think about this, give this some thought. Because it wants you to have a good experience in that moment. I mean, an example of the site crossing a road, your friend doesn't want you to get hit by the car. That's a happy outcome. Having been hit by a car in Liverpool, I promise you, not being hit by a car is definitely a happy outcome. So your friend will go, look, hey, just hold back a bit. Just look at this a bit. If we ignore that friend, if we kind of pay no attention to that friend who's trying to look out for us and ignore it, just soldier on, walk out without thinking about it, probably get hit by a car like I did. That friend, to get our attention, has to shout a bit more. It has to shout a bit louder. It has to do a bit of something extra to get our attention, to make sure we're okay, or at least what it perceives as okay, because that will be based on your past, not necessarily on that moment. So it shouts a little louder. Maybe it shakes your arm a bit. You still ignore that voice. Maybe then that voice has to really shout and scream and grab you and shake you or pull you back violently to avoid you getting hit by a bus, because that friend's got your best interest at heart. That doesn't feel good, but it protects you. But if we'd listened to that friend from the beginning, tried to hear what that friend is saying, tried to understand what that message is it's trying to give to us, what it wants us to pay attention to, then the friend would not have to shout. We would be able to stop, engage our logical minds and go, okay, oh yeah, no, that's the thing. What's the best thing for me to get the most out of this situation? Anxiety is that friend trying to keep you safe and happy, shouting at you. And if you listen to it, it stays in check. If we get in the habit of not listening to it, it gets louder and louder and louder, and our anxiety ramps up. Your body and your mind want you to be aware of something. It wants to be heard. And that is how it is with anxiety. Your unconscious mind, as I said, is there to do two things. It keeps you safe and it keeps you happy. If it perceives there may be something detrimental to it, then it will trigger the emotion that we call anxiety. Now, that could just be the fact that you want to make the best effort on that date. Or it could be you've got an interview coming up and you want to make sure you get the job. It could be you're worried about being the best you can be. Maybe you're worried about being stuck. Maybe you're worried about being alone. Anxiety around any of those things is that part of your mind going, hey, I want you to be happy. Have a look at this part of your life. What can you do to steer the ship of your life to make sure that doesn't happen? So you don't step out into that road and get hit by the bus. So you do meet other people and get out there. So it will flag up when it perceives something that's detrimental. That understanding of what might be detrimental to you comes from your past life's experience. I'm going to keep jumping back to the being hit by a car thing because it happened. If that happened to me when I was a young child and been clipped by the car, I might develop later on an anxiety, a fear, or a phobia around crossing roads or busy traffic. It might mean I could never work in a city because it's all too busy and hectic. And I would get really anxious about that. That anxiety is just my mind going, oh, my life, in the last time you did this and you got hit by a car, why don't you listen to me? Listen to me, listen to me. If I start listening to it, why am I anxious? What is this about? What is it that inner voice, that inner mind of mine is trying to tell me to be mindful of? to be aware of. And most of the time, in the majority of areas of our lives, that little bit of anxiety, that part of us, that friend, helps us. It does a good job. But sometimes it may not. Sometimes it just may not. But we can change those times. We can change how we interact with it. So what I'm going to ask you to do, because I'm sure from the posts that we've all put up and shared this week, and from some people message me privately, and that's fine. I know we've all got some area of our life where there is anxiety. So what I'm going to ask you to do is get comfortable. We're going in for the practical bit. Get comfortable, have a fidget, have a stretch. So that was a good stretch there, Lisa. So take a nice deep breath in. Hold that breath a moment. And then just gently release that breath, breathing out. And if your eyes aren't closed already, just allow them to gently close. Take another deep breath in. Breathing in some peace, some calm. And as you breathe out, just breathing out any worries and stresses of the day. Just feeling your shoulders sink a little bit deeper as you relax. Take a third wonderful deep breath in. Hold in a moment, just breathing back out again. Just relaxing. Feel the shoulders sink down. And it's good to relax. The more you relax, the better you can feel. And the better you feel, the more you can relax. Just letting go and unwinding. Aware of the temperature in the room, whatever it is that's supporting your body, and any thoughts that are going through your mind about this or other things as you start to relax even more, even deeper. Just letting go. And whenever you think about relaxing, you'll be aware that there's some sort of response that allows you within your mind to start relaxing even more. And as you become aware of those ideas, those thoughts and feelings about being relaxed, now you can start to allow that to happen even more. And you could hear these words whilst experiencing that warm, pleasant sensation of relaxation, couldn't you? And you could take that experience and deepen it some more, could you not? Being aware of that place within you that feels most comfortable, most relaxed, and allowing that feeling to spin within you, filling your body, relaxing, drifting deeper, deeper and deeper. And with every breath you take and every word I speak, it starts to become automatic. You do not have to think about this. There's nothing to do, nothing to try, just relax. With every breath, every passing moment. And in a moment, I'm going to count down from 10 to 0. And I want you to imagine that 0 is like a doorway. It's a gateway to a wonderful inner calm and inner stillness, a place of relaxation, where the everyday world and thoughts can drift by. And it's okay to have everyday thoughts. As you're having everyday thoughts, your unconscious mind can listen to the words I speak now. As we count down from 10, deeper and deeper, relaxing every cell, fiber and muscle of the body. 9, drifting, floating down through time and space. 8, with every breath you take now, just becoming automatic. You don't have to think about this. Just relax. 7, deeper down, easing yourself into that inner awareness, that space within. 7 to 6, deeper, deeper down to 5. And 5's that midway point. that midway point, and at that point of balance, I don't know whether you'll go into a wonderful, relaxed, trance-like state now, or whether you'll wait till we get down to 0. But as we tip from 5 to 4, you can go deeper still to 3. From 3, relaxing, drifting, floating, from 3 to 1, all the way deeper, deeper down, inside, and deeply relax. All the way in that 0. That 0 like a wonderful doorway to a deeper level of relaxation just coming towards you now. Just imagine that. However you do that, think about that 0. Knowing that when you step through that, as it comes closer now, any time now, when you pass through that, you can go deeper into that place. There's that 0 now stepping through it all the way down. That's right. And when you become aware of yourself sitting on a park bench, I don't know what time of day it is or night, what time of year it is, but have a look round, be there, see the sights, hear the sounds, and be aware of any smell or scent in the air. Be aware of the temperature. That's right. And as you're there, you look along the pathway and you notice a little hut, almost like a little gardener's hut, a little stone building. It's got your name upon the door. I want you to stand up walking along from that door and heading towards it. As you take each step, relaxing deeper, just allow your thoughts about that aspect of your life where you experience anxiety. And just taking that step closer and closer, relaxing down as you come up to that doorway. And there is a part of you that runs that anxiety for you. It's that part of you that just wants to give you a heads up, just wants to give you a little bit of a keep an eye on this, or maybe you want to pay this an attention. And sometimes, and a lot of the time, it gets it right for you. But sometimes maybe you don't hear it. Maybe it shouts louder because it's trying to get your attention. Maybe sometimes we just need to stop and listen to that voice inside. As you step up to the doorway, in a moment we'll open that door. You step inside. And as you step inside, that part of you is going to have left something in that room for you that will give you insight and understanding into what it is it's trying to communicate to you, what it is it wants you to pay some attention to. So in a moment, we'll open that door, and when you step inside, there's going to be something in there. And I don't know what that is, but that part of you that tries to communicate to you what it needs you and wants you to be mindful of, what it wants you to pay a little attention to, that knows what it'll be. And I ask that part of you that as you step into that it communicates to you and allows into your awareness what that means, what it represents. Opening that door, just step inside now, look around, see what you see, hear what you hear, notice how it feels, how it sounds, what it looks like. And notice whatever that is, that part of you that runs the anxiety shop for you, that runs that notification system, that friend that's looking out for you is trying to say to you in a comfortable and easy way, knowing that if ever you need to listen to that inner voice, you can come to this place and just be still a while and relax and allow the message that's trying to be told to be heard easily and effortlessly. Take a few moments now to understand what that is, that part has been trying to say to you, as that part allows you to let you know what its intention is. And as you start to listen, the more you listen to what that message is, the less anxious you can feel, and the less anxious you feel, the easier it now becomes to hear that inner voice, to listen, because when we listen enough, we can start to understand. And as we start to understand the message that that part of us has for us, our conscious logical mind can start to weigh up and assess the situation calmly, to decide the best action, or whether any action's needed, to help decide the next step, and to work with that part of you, allowing you to move more towards that feeling of safety, of wellness, of happiness. And in a moment, we'll leave this little space, but you can return back anytime. Anytime you desire to just go within and listen calmly and safely to what it is that part of you is trying to help you with. Whatever it is that it's been trying to communicate to you. And the more you listen, the more you can notice that rather than that anxiety having to shout at you for attention, the more it can just gently let you know. And you can deal with situations easily and logically, knowing what's best for you. As we leave that room now, closing that door behind and walking back along that passageway, back onto that bench. And in a moment, I'll count from 1 to 5. On the count of 5, you just open your eyes, feeling relaxed, refreshed. That's right. Back on that bench. 1, every cell, fiber, and muscle of the body coming back to everyday awareness. Number 2, feel a whoosh of energy from the tips of the toes to the top of the head, energizing, refreshing, feeling good. Number 3, take a nice deep breath in. Feeling good. Number 4, just imagine you're dancing in a warm summer's rain, and it feels amazing to be that alive. And number 5, just open your eyes, back with us, back now, and just spend a moment just thinking about that area, thinking about any insight that came to you and what that can mean to you in the future if you know that thing that allows you to hear that voice that little bit more and know what it's trying to communicate. See, when we listen enough to that part of us, the emotion eventually, when we listen to it enough, the logical mind will start to kick in. It'll be able to help us act in accordance to the message, decide whether or not logically there's nothing or anything to worry about. Your unconscious, the anxiety part, bases its response on what has been learned in your life. It's not an enemy to be defeated, but a friend to listen to. It can feel like a monster. And when we have really strong attacks of anxiety, it can feel horrible. And then we do not listen because we don't want to go there. We don't want to listen. Why would we listen to anything that feels that bad? And yet, when we start listening, that's when the logical mind can start working on the situation with us. The feeling gets stronger if we do not listen. But when we do, that's when it no longer needs to shout. That's when that voice of anxiety can just quieten itself down again, bring itself into a more friendly feeling situation. And one of the ways, there's 3 ways that can really help with this. 3 ways we can start to change your experience of anxiety. And that first one is to listen to it. It has something to say to you. It sees something in your future. Whether it's right or wrong is for your logical mind to decide. But you can only do that once you've listened. And with anxiety, it's that listening. Secondly, and I've worked with a lot of people who've said this, and talked to other therapists as well, who say that people deal better and live better and, I'm going to say, cope, improve their relationship with their anxiety when they accept that it's not an illness. Anxiety is a natural emotion. It's a response. In the same way as we laugh, we cry, we feel love, we feel sadness. If you're experiencing anxiety, you're going through the same process as if you experience excitement. In fact, chemically in the brain, excitement and anxiety are exactly the same chemical. It's just how we're interpreting it and how we're listening to it. I've never heard anyone be described as, oh, they've got an excitement disorder. We don't have excitement disorders. We don't know, oh my God, look at that person, they're always smiling. They've got a happiness disorder. Look at that person who's always really positive. They've got a positive disorder. We don't pick on people if they have good feelings. And yet we'll pick on ourselves and we'll let ourselves be labeled because we've got some feelings that don't feel so good. Like I said, chemically, excitement and anxiety are exactly the same chemical in the brain. So accept that anxiety is not an illness, accept that it's a natural response, and one that you have to learn sometimes how to work with, how to deal with it, in the same way as we've learned how to love and we've learned how to laugh. Thirdly, and this is important in just so many ways, thirdly, your inner dialogue. Those things you speak to yourself, whether you hear it as a voice outside of you, whether you hear it as somebody else's voice, your own voice, the way you talk to yourself is so important. Make a decision now, today, to just stop beating yourself up. Don't think to yourself, we give ourselves a harder time than most other people ever do. Everybody that I speak to has a voice in their head, or when I say a voice, I don't mean like they're hearing voices, but that internal dialogue that at some level is telling them they're no good, telling them they're not going to do this. You're always going to be stuck here. You're always going to feel like this. You're no good. You can't do this. You can't do that. We wouldn't talk to a friend like that. If we had a friend and they were struggling a bit, we go, yeah, no, I know you can do this. Might be a bit tricky at times, but you know what? You're the kind of person that can really get around this, and I know you can do it. We would big our friends up. Well, I hope we would. Those people we love, we want them to feel good. We want to make them feel good, so we speak to them in a positive way. So make a decision now and today to stop that inner dialogue that's beating you up. From now on, you'll talk to yourself with kindness and positivity. Warmth, support, and kindness breeds success and happiness. If you're always beating yourself up, then you're just going to be keeping yourself in that place you don't want to be. By looking at those 3 areas of listening to that voice, not seeing anxiety as the enemy, but although it can be uncomfortable, listening to what it has to say, listening to that inner dialogue, and just accepting that anxiety is a natural emotion. Sometimes emotions just get a bit carried away. So you look at it, think about it. If you've got a friend who comes to you really, really upset and they're in pieces, what do? You settle them down, you try and understand what it is they're saying to you so you can help them feel better. And that's all your anxiety is trying to do for you. It's trying to help you. It's seen something that, rightly or wrongly, it perceives as being potentially a threat to you. If we listen to it, go, okay, what is it you're saying to me? Okay, you're saying to me, every time I go into a park, I'm going to be savaged by a dog. And maybe you've got a real fear, a real anxiety about going into public spaces where there's dogs. But if you don't listen to that and try and understand it, that signal, that voice is going, don't go in the public space, don't. And we generalize. And as you generalize, it doesn't just become the park you don't want to go into. You don't want to go into this space or that space or anywhere where there's a dog. And suddenly, you can't see certain friends because they breed chihuahuas. And if we listen, it's like, what are you saying to me? So you're saying to me that every time I go out into a park, there's going to be a dog waiting to attack just me, because there are thousands of people walking parks and are never attacked by dogs. And the moment that logical part starts working on that message the anxiety part is giving us, then we can feel calm, and then we can deal with things, then we can find ways around it. And sometimes maybe that voice is giving us really good advice. Maybe it is something we need to be aware of. Maybe it actually helps us, and sometimes it gets in the way. So acceptance, it's not an illness, it's just your emotions. Inner dialogue. Don't beat yourself up for it, but pick yourself up if you find yourself being negative with yourself. I was doing it a bit back, and I just thought it was partly a trigger from the whole COVID thing, and I started getting a bit like, oh, you're not going to be able to make this work, and this, that, and the other, and I'm lying there, and it's going through my head, usually first thing in the morning, last thing at night, and that's no good. So I started lying in bed every morning, and in that half asleep, half awake bit where you really don't want to get up because it feels good, I started telling myself, you're going to do this. You can do this. You've done loads of cool things. You've learned this. You can do this. You've helped people with that. Look at all the wonderful feedback you get. How good a day are you going to make today? What are you going to do to make today really awesome? And I started talking to myself like that, just first thing in the morning for, I don't know, sometimes it felt like an age, but I'm sure it's probably only ever about a minute. But in that in-between state where your mind is really receptive to suggestion, if you're lying there going, oh, come on, you're going to go to work, you're going to be useless there, aren't you? And then you're going to go out, but you're not going to talk to anyone, are you? If you've got that kind of conversation going on, no, change it. These are things that you can do, things you can take control of. The way you feel is normal. Any emotion that you have is your, I'm going to say, God-given right to have. Your body has those feelings because it's natural for your body to have those feelings. Sometimes we just have to educate that part of us a little bit, or get ourselves used to dealing with those emotions in a slightly different way. As I said, and I say again, the way you feel is normal. There's nothing ill, there's nothing wrong. And seeing high anxiety as either mental illness or just in our heads, you go, oh yeah, no, get over it, it's just in your head. Dismissing it as though it's not real. Well, yeah, no, it's your feelings. Of course they're bloody real. Excuse me, get a little passionate there. And the same with, oh, it's mental illness. No, it's not. It's feelings and emotions. Feelings and emotions. That's all it is. And they're natural emotions. And what's more is anxiety is a natural emotion that has your happiness and your safety at heart. And if it's ramped up and shouting at you, it's because there's something you're missing, something you're not hearing. So just go within, spend time looking at it, listening to it. What is it about that? What is that fear? What is it what can I do different? Is that thing I'm feeling, is that fear I have justified? Or is it some reaction from something that happened to me when I was 3 that's never actually going to happen again, but my mind still sees it as a danger? If it was not for anxiety, we would not be living the lives we lead. Just imagine how well you may not have done in exams or job interviews, or even getting the house that you want to live in, if you'd not had a little bit of anxiety. Exams, oh, well, yeah, they're not important. No. A little bit of anxiety lets you know that it needs your attention, because doing well in those exams can make life better for you. Job interview, you ain't going to make an effort if you don't have a little bit of anxiety telling you, need to pull the stops out on this one a little bit. This could make life better for me. And that's the role of anxiety. It's not to make you feel bad, it's to help you feel good. And we do not have anxiety. It's not a rash. It is an emotion that we experience. And again, by listening to its message, it will not need to shout. And when that anxiety no longer needs to shout to be heard, when you start now to move towards it as a friend rather than running away from it as an enemy, to listen to it and understand, to then work with it, to kind of go, okay, actually, that's not going to happen. Or, oh yeah, maybe that's something I should have been aware of. When you start moving towards it and listening to it, rather than, as we do, we try and hide away from it and we run away from it and kind of cover it up with things. When you move towards it, I wonder just how much happier you can be when you've got that part of you working with you for your happiness, working consciously with that part of you to understand. And sometimes correct, sometimes put it in its place and say, you know, part of me that gets anxious about stuff, I've looked at this now, and that thing you're worrying about really isn't going to happen. And sometimes, yeah, we need a bit of support and help doing that, but a lot of the times we can do this for ourselves. I don't want you to listen to your anxiety all the time, but the more you hear its message, the better you can be, the happier you can be. I mean, if a friend pops round for a chat and warns you about roadworks up the street, you can make plans and feel good, can you not? Knowing that you're still going to get where you want to go. And that's the friend that is our anxiety. That's its purpose, to help us get to places of happiness, to help us feel safe. And that is the end of this session today. I hope that's been of interest. I'll just